If you're looking at Roosevelt and trying to say, is this a leader of guts and principle, people sometimes forget that in the early fall of 1940, he was running against Wendell Willkie. Some of the polls showed that they were tied. And the reason they were tied was because Willkie was saying, you know, elect Roosevelt and you will be at war in a couple of months and maybe your sons will lose their lives. Elect me and I will keep you out of war, which, by the way, was not what he was saying in private. He just wanted to win. If Roosevelt were unprincipled, he would have tried to outbid Willkie and say, elect me and I'll work even harder to keep you out of war. Instead, Roosevelt said in that campaign, I'm going to try to keep us out of war, but at the same time, there's something worse than staying out of war, and that is living in a world that's dominated by totalitarianism. And if you're looking at one metric of how courageous Roosevelt was, in the fall of 1940, when people were worried about war and worried about losing their sons, and they were sons in those days who would have been drafted, what does he do? He presides over, you know, the institution of a draft and a lottery, you know, who's going to get called up first. And a cowardly politician would have kept himself as far away from that as possible. What did Roosevelt do? He appeared himself at the drawing of the lottery numbers when, you know, mothers literally were in the audience screaming when they heard a number called that would possibly mean the more certain death of her son. You know, that's great presidential leadership.